The more people claim Arthur is the strongest in the Seven Deadly Sins universe, the more I think of him as a clown and somewhat of a fraud. He's not that guy. He's hardly top 3, and we don't even know how strong some characters have gone post-time skip, and there's some characters we've hardly even seen in Four Knights of the Apocalypse. Anyways, Arthur isn't top 1, top 2, and is only maybe top 3. I do not see the hype he has among the fanbase, and I'm here to accurately scale both him and Meliodas, without being biased towards the ginger that just has charisma and Mahoraga on his side. First off with Arthur, he can beat on Assault Mode Tristan with pretty much no difficulty, whom I believe is around the tier that Assault Mode Meliodas and Angel Elizabeth were in the original series, if not a little weaker, but still within that level of power. Arthur also upscaled characters such as Chaos Melascule and Chaos Critical over Galand, whom are stronger than they were in life, giving Arthur direct inverse over characters like Awakened Meliodas up until Assault Mode. He should upscale Kath as well, who was bodying the Seven Deadly Sins after absorbing a bit of chaos, but this isn't really applicable to a Prime Meliodas, as both True Magic Meliodas and Forkoa Meliodas would both be stronger than this. Arthur also debatably upscales Nanashi, who could last a little while against Lancelot, even taking his Shining Road, although neither are as strong as Lancelot still, as we saw how both those fights played out. Now let's get into Lancelot himself and how he compares to Meliodas, as well as Meliodas and Arthur's brief scuffle in Forkoa. So Lancelot should actually be around Meliodas' power. He stayed to be on par with the Seven Deadly Sins, which is arguably equal or lesser than Meliodas' power, as Lancelot's training that allowed him to be this strong was with Bon, who is directly Meliodas' inferior. This narrative likely extending into Forkoa, obviously. Lancelot is stated by Arthur to still be Meliodas' inferior as well during their fight, although Lancelot was intentionally nerfing himself in this fight to practice with his bad hand, and Arthur wasn't accurately gauging Lancelot's power, as shown later in the fight, where Lancelot begins to actually try after Chaos comes out. Chaos is essentially Arthur's Mahoraga. It saves his ass from actually being decimated by any threats, although it can be bypassed. Essentially the only times Arthur even gets hits on Lancelot was off guarding him with Chaos before getting dog-walked again. Arthur admits himself in his short fight with Meliodas that if it weren't for Tristan being there, Meliodas would have severely injured Arthur with one attack and would be completely unscathed himself, with Meliodas just about blitzing him a few pages prior. Arthur in this fight also shows how completely fodder his own AP is, with being completely unfazed by his own attack being full counter at him. To further emphasize how weak Arthur actually is stats-wise, let's look at how strong he was before getting Chaos. With Excalibur, he could only beat Chandler and Cusack, somewhat keeping up with Zeldris and Assault Mode Meliodas temporarily, and this was only stats-wise. He couldn't last long enough to do any actual damage, nor could he beat their abilities. Now, Chaos may amp him a bit, seeing how handily he beats Assault Mode Tristan. This amp is very limited, seeing how the amp given to Melascule and most visibly Galand wasn't enough to even push him over someone relative to, if not inferior to, base Sunshine Escanor. The funniest thing about the short fight between Meliodas and Arthur to me, and why I find it so baffling that people believe Arthur is stronger than a Prime Meliodas, is that Meliodas was only ever in base during their fight. So even if you want to believe Meliodas is stronger than his True Magic / Demon King self 16 years prior, he never even leaves his base form, making Arthur at best sub-relative to a base Meliodas. Stacking Assault Mode on top of this, and Arthur is getting absolutely cooked, deep-fried, baked in an oven at 400 for 8 hours straight. Now I think it's obvious why True Magic / Demon King Meliodas has better and more hacks than Forkoa Meliodas, but I also believe him to just be stronger in general. This is because of Meliodas' strength during his brief period in his True Magic form, being so strong that he physically could not inhabit Britannia. Now, some may try to say, but maybe Forkoa Meliodas is that strong in Assault Mode. I disagree. Meliodas was causing the world to change and go into disarray even when in base while having his True Magic form tucked away. So even while in base, just having that level of power in a separate form still caused the world to go into that chaotic state. This effect that the Demon King and Meliodas caused from their power alone does mess with a lot of the top tier inverse scaling, which I do have a problem with and will likely address in a future video. But I digress. I do think Meliodas could bypass Chaos protecting Arthur with either just strength and speed alone, as we see him do in the short fight in Forkoa, or just straight up destroy Arthur with the commandments, as the commandment of love would absolutely turn Arthur into a plaything for Meliodas, seeing as Arthur has a deep hatred for the Demon Clan, which Meliodas is a part of. Meliodas could detect Chaos pretty easily as well, using the Bell of Truth, as we see Mael / Estarossa do against Gother's illusions. So not only is Meliodas overwhelming Arthur in the stats department, but he's also destroying him hacks-wise, as Arthur is essentially a statue with his entire arsenal available for Meliodas to see. So Meliodas just stomps here, similarly to what Lancelot did, except even more one-sided with the hacks as well. Arthur is pretty strong compared to most of the verse, but come on. The Arthur wink needs to stop at this point. He got bullied in a 1v1 already. There's no reason to glaze him and say he's the strongest in the verse. He's a good 3rd place, but he gets completely bitched by the top 2. And we don't even know how strong Bond, Percival, Tristan, and multiple others are at this point. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on the topic, and I'll catch you all next time with Pain vs. Sukuna, which is originally supposed to be my 2nd collaboration video with Low Tier Crusader, but he's taking his sweet ass time editing Gojo vs. Godzilla, so Sukuna vs. Pain is coming first. Have a great rest of your day.